Good morning. Democrats Gretchen Whitmer and Garland Gilchrist. They're running as a 1-2 political combination. And if they win Michigan's top jobs, they'll be making history. Who is Lieutenant Governor candidate Gilchrist, and what does he add to the ticket? Find out this morning. It's Sunday, October the 7th. I'm Chuck Stokes, and this is Spotlight.
I am excited about my running mate. My running mate is a father, an entrepreneur, a tech guru.
I'm a proud native of the city of Detroit. My parents were born and raised in the city of Detroit, and they taught me the values of family, of service, of faith.
November 6th, if you win, you will make history in this state as the first African-American lieutenant governor. How much should that play into voters' thinking when they walk into the polls?
Well, Chuck, it's a good question. I mean, I think that this election represents a lot of big opportunities. So yes, there's the opportunity to make history for Black Michiganders, but it's also a big opportunity for us to declare the values. By voting Gretchen Whitmer in to be the next governor and me to be the next lieutenant governor, we'll be making a statement of values that health care should be a right in Michigan, and we need to expand access to that health care. We're making it a statement that we're going to help people have access to high quality education, a high quality public education wherever they live, and that's a chance to make a historic choice to do that, ending discrimination on car insurance and other sorts of issues, helping to eradicate barriers to persistent poverty. These are all choices that need to be in people's minds when they're choosing Gretchen Whitmer and Garland Gilchrist. When
Gretchen Whitmer picked you as her running mate, a lot of people were surprised. Were you surprised?
Honestly, I was not anticipating stepping up into this role this year. After my campaign for Detroit City Clerk last year, I was working with the University of Michigan and getting back to my family life.
It's a big jump up.
Getting back to my family life, but what I appreciate about Gretchen Whitmer is she's the kind of leader who understands that this is an important time. We have a big choice to make, and we need to do things differently. Gretchen's one of the most experienced legislators to ever pursue the office of governor of Michigan, and so she needed to make a different kind of choice for a lieutenant governor, someone who brought experience from different sectors.
What do you add to the ticket?
Sure, so I've worked in the public sector, I've worked in the private sector, I've worked in the nonprofit sector, I've worked in technology, I'm an engineer and a problem solver by training. And we've had too many people in Michigan, whether it's Detroit or Flint or Delta County, who have been failed by systems and state government. And so I'm bringing a systems thinking, a way to structure and solve problems that can bring our governance into the 21st century and have it be one that listens better, respects, and responds to people's needs.
You have a lot of experience outside of government. If there's any criticism of you, is that you've never been elected to anything, even though you got very, very close with the city clerk's race, only lost by about 1,400 votes against an entrenched incumbent. But that you haven't been elected to anything, and God forbid if something were to happen to Gretchen Whitmer, if she's elected governor, that you would now have to step into the role as governor of the state. Are you prepared for that job?
Yes, absolutely, because what this is about is how do we use the experiences that I have in terms of, again, partnering with Gretchen as a systems thinker, a problem solver, a solution builder, and a coalition builder, which is what the governor of Michigan needs to be. It's what Gretchen Whitmer is. She's made the choices in which she had to work across party lines to do hard things. And I've made the choices and had these experiences in my own career of having to get things done for people, which is what people want out of Lansing. Too many people have been failed. And so I'm prepared to step up to work alongside Gretchen as her lieutenant governor, and then also to serve in whatever responsibilities I need to, should the worst happen.
This is the strongest base for the Michigan Democratic Party, Detroit, Wayne County, heavily African American, heavily Democratic. A lot of people are expecting you to deliver this area for Gretchen Whitmer and the Whitmer-Gilchrist ticket. Is that too much pressure being put on you?
No, it's important that our ticket, our party, that we go everywhere people are. And yes, there are more Democratic voters in this part of the state than any other part of the state. That's why we've been running such a robust operation to try to reach out and touch all of those voters. We want to leave no voter untouched or uncontacted by a volunteer or by a candidate. And we're going to be spreading our message again of laying a foundation for a future that enables children, families, and people all across the state to be able to thrive in Michigan. There's a reason why I came back home to raise my children here. And we're telling that story and going out and sort of responding to people's questions about what the state government has not done for them or what it can do for them. And we're starting those conversations in Detroit, sure, where I live, and I'm spending a significant amount of time campaigning here. And we're also taking that opportunity to go to other parts of the state. You know, I've spent time in Muskegon Heights, in Benton Harbor, in St. Joseph's, in Albion, and Kalamazoo, and Grand Rapids. I'm going up north to the UP to meet people in Sault Ste. Marie and Marquette, because it's important that we connect the challenges that so many people and so many families in Michigan are facing to the solutions that we're offering them.
All right, we're going to take a little break. We'll come back. We'll talk about some of the issues and the relationship that you have with Gretchen Whitmer. We will be right back with Garland Gilchrist, Democrat and Lieutenant Governor candidate. Stay with us. And welcome back to Spotlight. You came, as I mentioned earlier, within a whisker of unseating an incumbent for Detroit City Clerk, lost by, what, 1,482 votes. That was a good run, but no horseshoes. What did you learn from that race to serve you well for this race?
Well, the biggest lesson that I learned, and I'm so thankful for the momentum that I was able to gain from that race and the support from people across Detroit, I learned that people vote for people. That people really want to meet and know who a candidate is, what they stand for, what their values are. And campaigns need to go where voters are. And so coming into this campaign, working alongside Gretchen Whitmer, the way that I'm campaigning is really demonstrating the fact that I will meet voters wherever they are. Gretchen has demonstrated that she will meet voters wherever they are. It's no coincidence that she was the only candidate in the primary who went to all 83 counties in Michigan. And then she won all 83 counties in the primary, because when they say that 90% of life is showing up, we believe that 95% of leadership is showing up. And I learned in my campaign that people will respond and people will support candidates who show up for them, not just in campaign season, but then who will continue to show up for them when they're governing.
You've worked with MoveOn.org, you worked with President Barack Obama's campaign when he was heavily into politics. You've worked with organizations closely aligned with Bernie Sanders. If there's any criticism from the other side, those who are running against you, they're going to say he's a leftist candidate, he's too liberal, and we can't afford to have our state go back to that, or I think their slogan is the failed ways of the Granholm administration. Your response?
Well, Jennifer Granholm's not on the ticket, so we're not running against that. And importantly, I'm very proud that Gretchen Whitmer and I earned the endorsement of President Barack Obama, someone who is very popular here in the state of Michigan. And we want to govern with the values of what's important for people. You know, people all across the state, people in Detroit, want to make sure that we have a high quality education that's available to everyone in the state of Michigan, a high quality public school accessible to children, making sure that we are ending the discrimination on car insurance, making sure that we are expanding access to health care. And those are not values that I believe are radical, or that Gretchen Whitmer believes are radical. These are values that we believe every Michigander holds, because everyone wants health care when they get sick. Everyone wants to insure the car that they drive. Everyone wants their kid to go to a good public school. And these are the values that we're running on, and we believe those will carry us to give us the opportunity and the privilege to govern people in Michigan.
Mr. Gilchrist, how old are you?
I just turned 36.
Just turned 36. Can you get young people such as yourself to be able to get out and vote? I know you're going to vote, but can you get young people in your age group, is what I meant to say, out to the polls? Because you know what the rap is. The rap is young people do a whole lot of talking and then they don't show up at the polls.
Well, my generation, the millennial generation, I think is a very engaged set of people, and there have been numbers that show that we hadn't been so engaged in the voting process on a consistent way. I think that's going to change this year. You know, from what's been coming down from Lansing for the last several years has really energized young people. What's been coming down out of Washington has really energized younger people. You're seeing more young people stepping up and running for office. You're seeing more young people stepping up and volunteering on campaigns. And that's certainly true of the thousands of volunteers that have stepped up to volunteer for the Whitmer-Gilchrist campaign. And I'm going and saying, hey, this is our chance to demonstrate that we have a place at the political table. By participating in the process and by voting, we're showing that this is our opportunity to define this moment so that we can define the future. And I'm excited, and I think the young people have really stepped up, and you're going to see an increase in voter turnout among young people in this election. Running
for lieutenant governor along with the gubernatorial candidate is one thing. getting elected is something else. And if you get elected, then it's all about, okay, my job is primarily in Lansing dealing with the legislature, the House and the Senate, particularly the Senate as Lieutenant Governor. How much do you know about those two bodies, and how do you get up to speed? Because they're going to expect you to hit the ground running. Absolutely, and I will hit the ground running. And we've been working with a lot of current and former legislators who have been very eager to be supportive as we ramp up on what the machinations of those offices are, or what those bodies are. I think what's important is the partnership between Lieutenant Governor and Governor is a governing partnership. You know, Gretchen and I's partnership is not just about campaigning; it's also about governing and leading. And our varied life and professional experiences make this a very unique and dynamic ticket in the way that we haven't really presented to Michigan voters before. So we have an opportunity to lead in a different way as well, not only with using the machinations of the legislature and the Senate, which I would preside over as Lieutenant Governor, but going a step further and declaring boldly what the values of this administration are going to be and how we're going to work with people in Michigan to get that done. It's not just about the legislators, it's also about the people of Michigan, and we're demonstrating that through the campaign, and we'll carry that forward in how we govern. And my experience as a former community organizer has prepared me very well to do that kind of mobilization. All right, I need to slip another little break in here. We'll hurry right back with Garland Gilchrist. There are three key ballot proposals that are going to be facing the voters. Where do you stand on each one of them? So proposals 1, 2, and 3, Gretchen Whitmer and I support all three of those ballot proposals. So proposal 1 on legalizing recreational marijuana, we support that for a couple of reasons. One, because it's a substance that we can regulate and tax and make safe. And 2, we want to take the opportunity to go a step further and reduce people's contact with the criminal justice system by legalizing that substance, and also by working to expunge the records of those who are in prison for minor possession charges. And what do you say to people who say, you know what, that's the gateway to other drugs, opioid and other things that are decimating our society? We don't need to open up that can of worms. I think by recognizing marijuana and by working in creatively and in concert with folks who have those concerns, we can create an environment for safe usage, and also make sure that people are saying no to any other sort of drugs or substances that may be illegal. I talked to a minister, Reverend Jim Howley, who past president of the Council of Baptist Pastors, and he said unequivocally, he said, that is the worst thing for the African American community right now. Well, I think that it's the worst thing when people are in jail for minor drug possessions and coming into contact with the criminal justice system in a way then that after that first contact is made, it's often hard for people to get out of it. So one of the things that we want to do in our administration is create pathways to not only prevent contact with the justice system in the first place, but then once people have come into contact, how do we create pathways out of it by building on things like the Trading Places program with the laborers union has been using in partnership with the Michigan Department of Corrections to give people skilled trades training while they're on the inside, so they can come back home and then have access to a real job on the skilled trades right now to address that shortage. And those pathways can not only reduce the people's coming back into contact with addiction, which is a disease and needs to be managed, but also can give people a chance to contribute to society and reduce recidivism. And redistricting, if you win, might you be in a position where you look back and say, woo, maybe we shouldn't have fought so hard for that, because we could have had more control over redistricting, and now we're in a situation where we aren't going to have as much control because it's going to be more citizens in control. Absolutely not. I believe that voters need to be in control of our political process, and they need to be in control of how our boundaries are drawn, as opposed to having politicians who are doing it for selfish reasons. Voters are going to be doing it in the interest of Michigan. I 100% fully support voters, not politicians, and Gretchen Whitmer does as well. We want everyone to vote yes on Proposal 2. And promote the vote if there's some concerns. One is about security. Are we opening up the system possibly to fraud and keep the integrity of the system? And will Michigan be able to afford promote the vote? So Gretchen Whitmer and I also support Proposal 3, promote the vote, because we support making it easier to vote in Michigan.
We want everyone to participate in the political process, and we want to reduce barriers to doing that.
You think it's been discriminatory up to now?
Absolutely. I think that it's been, whether it's been the repeated Republican attempts to introduce voter ID laws when in-person voter fraud has not been a challenge in the state of Michigan. We need to make it so that more people can have easier access. We need to introduce no excuse absentee voting. We need to reinstitute straight party voting, something that's existed in Michigan for more than 100 years. But it's really true that those who want to take those things away want to make it harder for people to exercise their franchise. And Gretchen Whitmer and I don't agree with that, and we fully support Proposal 3.
What do you and Gretchen Whitmer differ on? What's something that's strong and important to you that she may not necessarily agree on, and you say, you know, right now we're going to agree to disagree on this?
Well, Gretchen and I share values, and it's one of the reasons why I'm proud to be her running mate and her governing partner as Lieutenant Governor, working alongside her. We differ on the fact that I went to Michigan and she went to Michigan State. It's very important to me.
Okay.
And so when it comes to football and basketball, like, that's something that we agree to disagree on, and will agree to disagree on for the entirety of our tenure.
Okay, so does my wife and my my new son-in-law. Okay, he went to Michigan and she went to Michigan State. So, you know, they're still all in the family. So sometimes you can manage these things. All right, very good. We'll find out about that. Why should people pick you and your running mate over Bill Schuette and Lisa Posthumous Lyons?
Because Gretchen Whitmer and Garland Gilchrist, we believe that it's our role to help people in Michigan lay a foundation for the future. It's our role to help build a government and administration that does not break promises. Whether you are a parent of young children like I am, I have 5-year-old twins who just started kindergarten. We want them to go to schools where the professionals who work in those schools are well supported. We want them to go to schools where they're not cold or concerned about the water that they're drinking through the tap, that we have infrastructure in place to enable their imagination, not limit their possibility. And we also want to make sure that people who have worked, who have taken that path to a highway skill that we want to make sure they have and get training that's debt-free, we want to make sure that once they work hard and when they retire, that their retirement is not taxed, and that promise that they were made when they were working is not broken. We want to make sure that people understand that they have access to health care that can enable them to be whomever they want to be and do whatever they want to do, and not be concerned about it being ripped away from them because they have a pre-existing condition, or because Republicans, like our opponents, do not believe that health care is a right in Michigan. This choice could not be more clear. We believe that we can build a better Michigan by working together with people who share those values, and we're going to work hard to make sure that every voter knows that choice.
All right, we need to take one more pause for the cause. We'll hurry right back with the final segment with Garland Gilchrist. Former President Bill Clinton, when he was running for office, said it's about the economy, stupid. And so I think a lot of races really boil down to the economy. A lot of times people can look past all sorts of other idiosyncrasies if they're getting a paycheck and they have a job and they can put food on their table. Your opponents are running ads that basically are suggesting to people that a Whitmer-Gilchrist administration would blow up the economy. It would take them back to the days of Jennifer Granholm, where there were budget problems. They were fighting with the legislature and couldn't get their budgets done on time. And they're drawing this parallel, as we mentioned earlier, between the two candidates. First of all, is it true, and are you bothered by the fact that this female candidate for governor is being attached to the first female governor of this state, as though you could make that comparison all the time from woman to woman?
Yeah, well, it's simplistic and offensive that is the path that they're choosing to take, to compare Gretchen Whitmer to the last female governor simply because they're women, and that's problematic. And we need to realize.
But they don't say that. But you think that's suggested?
I think it's clear that that's their intention. And so we are focused again on how do we build an economy for the future? How do we ensure that everyone in Michigan has a path to a high-wage job or skill? They're going to a school that's invested in, where education is equitably funded. They have a path to 2 years of debt-free college or debt-free professional or vocational training. Gretchen Whitmer was one of the first legislators to introduce that more than a decade ago. we're making sure that people know that they have access to health care that's high quality, and that the government's not going to be in their pocket to tax their pension. That's why we want to roll back that retirement tax that Republicans instated to pay for tax cuts for the richest corporations and the people with the most money in the state of Michigan. We want to make sure that we are not having auto insurance rates that are discriminatory, that are taking money out of people's pockets. I mean, part of the reason why I did not own and drive a car for almost 3 years in the city of Detroit was because auto insurance is so expensive. That's real money coming out of people's pockets. And so we need to work to make that regime right. And so when we talk about the economy, when we talk about people's pockets and the kitchen table issues of making life affordable, those are the issues that we're running on, and in our agenda we believe voters will believe in.
You're running for this office along with your partner and Gretchen Whitmer, but this is grueling on families. Talk a little bit about your family, and is your family prepared for this public scrutiny that's going to come, like it or not?
Sure. So my wife and I, we have 5-year-old twins who were actually born on my birthday, as I think I described earlier. And
what's your birthday?
September 25th.
Okay, all right.
And so
I'm September 5th, so it's a
fantastic.
good month.
It's a good month.
Okay,
I appreciate that.
Yeah.
And so, you know, our family believes that public service is a privilege. And you know, it is not a right. It's not something that's ordained by God. It's a blessing that voters bestow upon people. And so as we step into this realm, we believe that we have something to offer. We believe that Gretchen Whitmer is the type of leader who I am thrilled to be partnering with. And we're ready to get to work and roll up our sleeves. You know, on the first day of campaign season, the day after Labor Day, I was in Flint, Michigan, greeting families as they were dropping their children off on the first day of school, because we thought it was important. I thought it was important to show that from Lansing, from the Lieutenant Governor and the Governor, the city of Flint will have a partner in the Whitmer and Gilchrist administration who will have those families' backs and help them rebuild that infrastructure. And that's the kind of commitment that our family's ready to step up and take. And you know, we're proud to be part of this, and we are proud to serve the people of Michigan if they give us that privilege.
You drive an American car?
I do. I drive a plug-in hybrid Ford Fusion.
All right. Final question. What's the last good book that you read that you would encourage others to read?
Oh my goodness, that's good. I would say Kite Runner, which is interesting. I'm not really the biggest on fiction, and my wife recommended it, and it was just a really interesting book about you know, 2 young boys and their sort of parallel tracks in life. And there was just some great lines from his father about just this philosophy of life. It's a really fantastic book.
All right. Garland Gilchrist,
thank you.
Thanks for coming in.
Always a pleasure.
Good luck on the campaign trail, and may the best man or woman or combination thereof win. Next week, Lisa Posthumous Lyons, the Republican candidate for Lieutenant Governor. And finally, our condolences to the family and friends of Detroit businessman and diversity trailblazer Bill Brooks. He made his mark on America, and he will surely be missed. I'm Chuck Stokes. Good day.